Are you ready to make 2024 your best reading year yet? Then this video is perfect for you, because in today's video I'll be sharing my reading list for 2024, and let me just tell you, I'm really excited for the year to come. So the first book on my reading list for 2024 is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I have no idea whether I pronounced that correctly, even just a little bit. That's the thing about authors and the name, when you only see the names written down, I haven't heard them. I could just Google it, but I'm not gonna. I'm really excited for this one. The second book is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I actually got this one for Christmas by both my mum and my aunt. Huge kudos to them for having found this book, and in English as well, because it is in Danish some places, but I do prefer to be reading in English when I'm doing these videos. I've seen this book everywhere as well, and I know that it divides the waters a little bit. I don't know if it's truly either you love it or you hate it book, but we're gonna have to see that. But it does sound right up my alley. Fantasy, maybe even romantasy, and it's got fae or fairies in it. I think I'm just gonna continue that wave for like the love of fae that I have at the moment. It actually starts in 2022, but I'm still riding that. So I'm just gonna continue and try and satisfy that need. This is gonna be one of the first ones that I'll be reading. And I know there are more books in this series as well. So I wonder how many books is going to be added to my reading list for 2024. It's going to be exciting at the end of next year, or this year. I'm filming this in 2023, but I'm excited to see how many of the books that I do end up reading, and what books that are not on this list that I'll end up reading. It's going to be exciting. The Cruel Prince, so far I'm quite excited. It's gonna be fun. The third book is Babel by R.F. Kuang. Sorry, I'm doing my best. It seems to be a historical fantasy, epic fantasy story. I haven't dipped my toe into historical fantasy at all, I think, actually. Historical fiction, but not fantasy. So this is going to be quite exciting. I can't remember where I saw this, but I am a sucker for some good historical fiction. The next book is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and I know that it was Christiane Jones that got me into putting this one on my reading list for 2024. It's going to be my first Neil Gaiman book. It's got a beautiful cover, you know I'm a sucker for a good cover by now, and it just intrigues me. The Graveyard Book is an old book, I think it's 10 years old or something, so I'm a bit late to the game with that one. I'm so happy. I think this might be the best video I've made so far. Oh gosh, yes. The next book is a fiction book, contemporary fiction book, and it's The Other World by Abby Emmons. Abby Emmons is another YouTuber who gives tips about writing and how to write your own novel and create stories and stuff like that. And of course she has released a few books of her own. The latest is The Other World, and I just want to read some of her stuff. We follow Orca Monroe, who has been raised in a lighthouse, and like her deepest desire is to go to the other world, this strange mainland. And of course there's going to be a bit of romance with a boy named Jack. That's about all I know about the book, and I cannot wait to read that one. I've said that about all of the books so far, but it's the real deal, guys. I'm just really looking forward to all of these books. The next book is another fantasy book, and there are quite a lot of fantasy books on my reading list for 2024, and that's just a deal this year. Maybe there will be more contemporary fiction drizzling in as the year goes on, but yeah, I do love a good fantasy novel, so that's just how it is. And the next book is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm butchering your name, but that's just how it is not to be a native English speaking woman. I actually found this book through a YouTube ad. Like I saw, I think it was the like masterclass ad stuff like thing, and she came up, and I absolutely loved that she read out loud a few sentences, just maybe just one sentence actually, something about get the end of the world over with and get to the exciting part. And I was so intrigued by that and researched her a little bit, and here we are. I'm really excited to read this book because I know that N.K. Jemisin has a background as a psychologist. What I've heard about this book is that the characters are very well put together, well-rounded, and you know, that's what I often miss in books, that they are not as characterized. All right, that's not the word, that's not the English word for it, but I just, so that the characters aren't so stereotypical, I think is the right word. So I can't wait for this one either. The next book is The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown, and it's actually a new release and hasn't been released yet. It's going to be released in February sometime, and I think I found it on the Goodreads 2024 release, expected hype releases or whatever it's called, and it just sounded really intriguing. It is it mentions that if you like The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, that this is probably going to be a book for you as well. And I just started reading the book The Midnight Library, and I am in love with it, so I cannot wait for this like contemporary fantasy novel to come out as well. I feel like I've found some pretty good books for this year. Cannot wait. All right, the next two books are a duology that you probably all know, and it's The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. And this is a book I'm already a little bit conflicted by because I really did not like the Shadow and Bone trilogy. It's actually a little bit like Dawn of Onyx. Like, the plot is really good, but the personal development in the characters and their relationships are just too fast for me. But there's still something that intrigues me about the book. So I'm gonna give Leigh Bardugo another go, especially because everyone is just loving Six of Crows, and hopefully this duology will help me change my mind. Next book is Divine Arrivals by Rebecca Ross, and it's another fantasy. It's a young adult. I think this everywhere as well, and it just intrigues me. Again, there's something about dark blue covers that gets me. I don't know what that says about me. What does the colour blue symbolises? Do any of you know? Leave a comment below and try and psychoanalyze me. So another enemies to lovers trope, I suspect, and I love those usually. They either make me really happy or really annoyed. So much fantasy, I love it. The next book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Again, this book has been popping up everywhere. It's fantasy. Oh, there's gonna be dark magic, it's gonna be intrigue. It's been a while since I read something with vampires in it. I think actually the last time was Twilight, and I was quite young then. I did like the books at the time. I'm afraid to reread them, so I'm not gonna. So this is gonna be intriguing, moving a little bit away from my fae fetish. Can you say that? Oh, it just might be actually. But this year is definitely a fantasy year. So I do hope that I will broaden my horizon a little bit more. But this year is definitely a fantasy year, so brace yourselves. It's gonna be epic. The next book is the very, very, very hyped book, Fourth Wing And it is another book, another fantasy book, romantasy book, and it is a book that definitely divides the waters. And I have a feeling I'm not gonna like it. I don't know why, but I think I have to read it just to know, to make sure, and to get it like out of the way. And hopefully it will just change my prejudice, that's the word I was looking for, about this book, and I will just fall in love with it and its characters and stuff. But we'll see. I'm a bit skeptical about this one, but I've got to read it. The next book is A Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, and if you don't already know, I absolutely love Sarah J Maas. I think she does a brilliant job at world building and making romantasy. She's amazing at it, and her writing style is just right up my alley, except for Crescent City, but maybe we'll get to that someday. I don't think there is much more to be said about Throne of Glass. It's a huge series. So I'm not sure I want to like it, because it will add like, what, 7 more books onto the reading list. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I'm not sure. Nothing more to say about that one. I'm sure every one of you knew this book as well. The next book is another book recommended by Christie Ann Jones, and I'm beginning to see that I really like fantasy, especially fae at the moment, but other books that I like are like these horror, gothic-like books. And this book is The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers and Other Gruesome Tales. I think it reminds me a little bit of the original H.C. Andersen fairy tales, because they are quite gruesome. They're definitely not the Disney versions that we are being fed today. It does say it's a children's collection short stories book, but we'll see if it actually is that. I don't know what to say. I'm so excited about this one. I want to buy it right now. Get it home. Next up is the one I've cheated a little bit with, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I've already shown this in my first book haul ever, so I'll link this video somewhere. I'm absolutely in love with it. It is about Nora, who suffers from depression. She decides that she doesn't want to live anymore, but in this in-between state of not living anymore but not being fully dead either, she finds herself in the Midnight Library, where she can try out all of the lives that she could have lived. Yes, and I'm definitely going to be adding a lot more Matt Haig to my reading list, maybe this year, but otherwise in 2025. The next book is another book by Jen Campbell. I don't know how many books it is now, but it's also another book recommended by Christie Ann Jones, and it is Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit. I want to broaden my reading horizon a bit, and it's a book of poems, and I've been reading Milk and Honey by Ruby something, and I haven't been reading that much poetry since I was in college, maybe even secondary school or something like that actually. But Milk and Honey has definitely left an impression on me. It's a totally different reading experience, reading poetry, and I want to continue that path. And this book by Jen Campbell, Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit, sounds intriguing to me. The next book is a new release coming this month actually, sometime in January, and it is the 3rd book of the Crescent City series by Sarah J Maas, A House of Flame and Shadow. I don't really know exactly what it is about the Crescent City series. I feel like they're just too long, but Sarah J Maas is one of my favourite authors, so I do want to keep on reading. It is a book that I am a little bit terrified of beginning, because the 2 other books has been like 800 pages and it's multiple point of view and there are many characters, and I'm dreading it a little bit, but I also want to know what's going to happen. And she is merging the ACOTAR series with this series now, so I'm intrigued to see how she's going to do that. So yeah, that's on my reading list as well. The next book is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, I think. It's another Goodreads winner of 2023, maybe Best Young Adult, I think. Don't get at me if I'm wrong. But it's another historical fantasy novel, as some enemy to lover trope in it. It's set in Egypt and it's filled with adventure and dangerous race, and the stakes are high and stuff like that, so I am looking forward to reading this one as well. It's got everything, and is a little bit different than what I usually read, and I think that's only a good thing. The next book is A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen, or is it Jensen? Because we've got Jensen as a last name in Denmark, and then you don't pronounce it as an English J, but if she's not Scandinavian, I think it's still Jensen. Do you guys know? It's another fantasy book, of course. It just sounds like it's got everything that I want. Sounds like there's a lot of Scandinavian thing going on, Norwegian, Swedish sort of thing. So I really want to say Björn instead of Bjorn, and Freya instead of Freya. I need to do some research whether or not she has some Scandinavian roots. That could be a little bit fun. So another book that I'm really excited to read. The next book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's not a fantasy. It is fiction though, and it's yet another book being recommended by Christiane Jones. What is this, the 5th book now, I think? It's a contemporary romance novel, which is probably needed on this reading list by now, and it's been praised by so many people and Goodreads and all of the sorts, and it sounds really intriguing. There's the fascination with the upper class, famous people that everyone is intrigued by, and how does that connect with the reporter? I'm intrigued. I had a great-great-grandmother or something like that, or maybe it actually wasn't great-great-aunt or something, who had 13 children with 6 different men or something. So it's going to be quite fun to read this one. So far I don't see any kids involved in Evelyn Hugo's life, but who knows. Next book is Normal People by Sally Rooney, and this has been absolutely everywhere on BookTok and Booktube, on Instagram, Goodreads, like in my local bookstore. It's everywhere. I've got to read it. It's not fantasy again, and I'm quite proud of myself. It's fiction, contemporary fiction, and also it's got some romantic elements in it, and maybe even a little a coming of age as well. That's gonna be fun to read. The final book of my reading list for 2024 is Flores and Miss Paula by Melissa Rivero. I'm not ending with a fantasy. I'm so proud of myself. The last couple of books haven't been fantasy. I haven't been naming them in a specific order or anything. It's just been totally random as I've found the books. It's another book that focuses on minorities, it seems. I'm definitely intrigued by it. I've only read one other book. It's a Danish book that evolves around the mother-daughter bond. That was a tough read. Definitely triggers something in me at least. So that's going to be intriguing. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments below which books are on your reading list for 2024. Have you already read some of those that are on mine? Or are you going to read any of them? And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel as well for more videos in the upcoming year. Until the next time, happy reading. Hi there, bookworms. No, I'm not going to do that one. And some assistant thwarting? I have no idea how to that word. Divine Rivals by, oh, I'm sorry, I have a burp stuck in my throat. We follow Orca Monroe, who has been raised in a lighthouse. Is that so difficult to say? Orca Monroe. 10 years later, by Olivia Blake. I'm certain, I'm really the first book. Why are the beginnings always so difficult?